So before I get started on this video, I want to say a few things concerning those of you who are sending me messages on YouTube or on BitChute. If I warn you about using the name God or Got or Deus instead of Jehovah, listen. If I warn you about using the name Jesus instead of Yehoshua, you need to listen up. And if I tell you that if you keep using those counterfeit names when you are conversing with me, making comments, I'm going to block you, because I don't allow blasphemy on my 2 channels. Period. I'll give you a warning first. If you don't listen to the warning, I'm going to block you. All right? So let's get started with this video. And let me further explain a few things. Once you know what the real name is, there are no excuses for continuing to use the counterfeit. And Paul wrote in Hebrews 10, "For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth." What he's talking about, you have received the knowledge of the truth regarding his name and what he's going to do. You Christians, you think that salvation is individual minus the salvation of Israel. That's false, because it is the opposite. He has come to save all Israel and Gentiles who are grafted into the branches of Israel. Big difference. That's one truth that once you learn it, you cannot walk away from it, because then there will be no more sacrifice for sins. But the other is the name. Jehovah, not God, not Got, and not Deus. And Yehoshua, not Jesus or Jesus. And if you continue after receiving the knowledge of that truth, you continue to go and use those names in place of Jehovah and Yehoshua, there remains no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for judgment and fiery indignation which shall devour the adversaries. So when you choose to continue to use those fraudulent names in place of the real names, you are counted among the adversaries. Now, so I was asked, and I have heard people have difficulty understanding why the Creator would create the concept of good and evil. And my answer is, once again, as I have stated over and over again, language barrier. You see, you're trying to understand this using King James Version, and King James Version is incorrect. Lutheran Version is incorrect. The Latin version is also incorrect. But in this case, Strong's Concordance is in fact where you can find the answer. You see, Jehovah Elohim does not create wickedness. There is a difference. Let me show you. And Jehovah, not the Lord. Elohim, not God, took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. And Jehovah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden that you may freely eat. Now, here's what King James Version does. King James Version says, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. Okay? Knowledge. Well, what is that word? To know. Now, to be skillful, or to be skillful in the understanding of, is it good and evil? Let's find out. Tob. What does Tob mean? Pleasant, agreeable. Show me anywhere in here. Show me anywhere that it says righteous. You can't find it. Go look. I dare you. Is it righteous anywhere in here? Now you notice it says, I'll first of all go up here, pleasant, agreeable. Pleasant to the sight, to the taste, to the smell, of time, place, of persons, word of message, of other things. What are the things? A pleasant, prosperous journey. Okay. Unity of brethren. How pleasant it is. Of several creations, of land, soil, of vegetation, of animals, of minerals in quantity and price. But nowhere is righteousness referred to. It is of a man's sensuous nature, or by his five senses. Now we got number 10, ethical, what Jehovah requires. Okay, we finally found something here. But that's way down on the bottom of the list, folks. Now, let us look for the word righteous. Is tzaddik in Hebrew. Just, righteous, blameless, innocent, man of righteousness. So the tree of the knowledge of good puts righteous at the last spot, but tzaddik, the word tob in Hebrew, but the word tzaddik, righteous. So the knowledge of not righteous, but a quality of life, and evil is not, it is ra. So we look up the word ra, and what does it mean? It means adversity. It means adverse, like a bad, disagreeable, malignant, like the malignancy of a woman. you're going to experience, now, which is why I have never remarried, because I had enough of that experience. Diseases, boils, deadly sword, arrows, severe judgments. Oh! You see, folks, but is there anywhere fierce messengers of Jehovah, of wild beasts? Now, evil days of trial and hardship. That's what the focus on is here. Okay? Things that are unpleasant, of low value, sad of heart. Okay? Now, once again, way down on the bottom is bad, unkind, vicious disposition or of temper. Of ethically, I should say. But if we go to Russia, wicked and criminal would be the word. Well, he didn't use that word here. Evil man, guilty man, offender. So when we look at of every tree of the garden you may eat, but the tree of the knowledge of that which is great for the senses and pleasure, and that which is will bring adversity, pain, and misery. It's not talking about lies, not talking about deceit. So what I'm saying is Jehovah, I mean, they would experience that because they choose it. But Jehovah did not create wickedness, is what I am saying. Alright, I'm not sure if I... There are places in the Bible where King James Version says that Jehovah created evil. No, he said he will create adversity. See if I can find it. And right here in Isaiah 45 and verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create calamity. Jehovah does these things. But who is the one who created lies? He did no such thing. It was Satan who did this. It was the serpent who did this. So 45 and verse 7. No, the rising of the sun from the east, from the west, that there is none beside me. Jehovah. There is none besides him, Jehovah. There is nobody else. I form the light. So Jehovah is the creator. And I create darkness, obscurity. I make peace and adversity. You notice the word is concerning calamity, not wickedness and lies. So he gave man a choice, but the problem came to be that up until that time there were no malignant messengers in the Elohim realm until the one who was with him, the one of the messengers who was with him from the beginning, exposed himself in the form of a serpent. And this was the reason why this is the reason why the Adam and Eve were not immediately killed, because Eve was deceived and Adam ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil unknowingly. Paul points that out. A lot of people don't understand, don't realize. They think that Adam was watching her being deceived. No, he was not. Paul specifically said that Eve being deceived was in the sin. That means Adam was not. But because he ate of it unknowingly, and Jehovah did say, because you listened to the voice of your wife, what he was saying was you assumed that she wasn't tricking you. My, oh my, oh my, how women still trick men to this day. Now, I want to get right into another subject real quick, and I want to show you that things are getting very bad very quickly. Now, I'm sure all of you have read something like this recently. And Biden says he will stop sending bombs and artillery shells to Israel if it launches major invasion of Rafah. So, just a few weeks ago, we heard the Biden administration say the United States' unwavering support for Israel. I will type in unwavering support for Israel and see what we find here. Now, I just want to show you what desperate situation the world is in right now. It's worse than you think. Biden has largely sought to balance the unwavering support for Israel's security and harsh condemnation of Hamas's October 7th attack with alleviating hardship for civilians. You can't do that. It's not possible. Just like a man cannot serve two masters, neither can you have unwavering support for Israel's security and trying to alleviate the hardship for civilians suffering in Gaza. And as I pointed out in just a couple of videos ago, that the Gazan citizens, the civilians, were caught participating in the genocide, the attempted genocide of the Jews in Israel. And yet, now, unwavering support for Israel, huh? Unwavering. ABC News, the history of U.S. support for Israel runs deep. Israel and the United States stems from shared values and interests, experts say, with President Joe Biden pledging unwavering support for Israel. All right. Really? Well, then we need to take a look at this. I'm going to show you what betrayal, wickedness, and lies look like. The day before Biden announced a freeze on arms sales to Israel, his administration granted a waiver on sanctions allowing arms sales to Qatar, or however you pronounce that, Lebanon and Iraq, despite their alignment with Hamas. This waiver bypasses sanctions on weapon sales to countries that boycott Israel. A stab in the back by the United States of America. The United States of America is acting like a woman who betrays her husband. So we have comments here. The more we know about the sequelae to Biden anti-Israel move, the more we see the hands of nefarious actors within the Biden administration. It's a shame that the current administration has not only denied Israel of arms, it's also arming Israel's sworn enemies. The ultimate betrayal. And I dare say, that is this administration signaling to Russia, go get him. Yep. Where do you even begin? And how many levels is this wrong? Don't just stop there. Give Hamas the nuclear codes too while you're at it. Show them truly how great support to the terrorist proxy organization gets. This is insane. What the hell? Any sales to Lebanon will go to Hezbollah. Money and arms to Qatar that houses leaders of Hamas. This is foreign policy. No, it's a betrayal. It's a stab in the back. It is a Judas Iscariot move. And for that, the United States of America is going to receive, very likely be the first ones on the list to receive the plagues of the two witnesses. As I pointed out to you many, many times in Isaiah 66, the two witnesses are mentioned, but as fugitives, not two witnesses. And they will go to, it says, Tarshish. And I pointed out to you in that particular video that I did, that according to, what is his name? One of the Greek wise men of the day, beyond the pillars of Heracles. That's where Tarshish is. Look. Beyond the pillars of Heracles. Plato placed the legendary island of Atlantis beyond the pillars of Heracles. Renaissance tradition says that pillars bore the warning, nothing further beyond, serving as a warning to sailors and navigators to go no further. Tarshish. Wait a minute. Jewish Virtual Library, of course, that's where you'd find it. Tarshish. All right. A distant port from which silver, iron, tin, lead, ivory, monkeys, and peacocks were brought to Israel, not Palestine. The location of Tarshish is uncertain, since the biblical references to it are vague and apparently contradictory. The word may be a refinery, from, I guess, the Akkadian, to be smelted. It must be a Mediterranean port, since, according to Genesis 10, verse 4, since Tarshish is said to be a son of Yavan, Greece, some identify it with a mining village in southwestern Spain called Tarsus, which was, according to Herodotus, beyond the Pillars of Heracles. And according to Plinius and Strabo, in the Guadalquivir Valley. This is very probable. Now, this is probable. Jonah, fleeing from his mission in the East Nineveh, took from the Jaffa port a boat to Tarshish, i.e. westward. On the other hand, Solomon had a fleet of Tarshish, whose home port was Ezion-Geber in the Red Sea, because the ships of Tarshish are long-haul ships that go to the other side of the Mediterranean and further. Some explain the expression fleet of Tarshish as a fleet composed of big, strong ships capable of long voyages, but not necessarily to Tarshish. Now, so I did a video on this that went into a deep dive on what beyond the Pillars of Heracles means. And so they're saying that right here, that Tarshish, according to Herodotus, beyond the Pillars of Heracles. But there was another one. I don't know if it was Aristotle. I don't know who it was. I did a video on it. But the Pillars of Heracles are the Strait of Gibraltar, Pillar of Heracles, Strait of Gibraltar. The Pillar of Heracles are the mountains on the both sides of the Strait of Gibraltar. People in ancient times named them. Modern historians know that the northern pillar is the Rock of Gibraltar, but the modern historians do not know which rock on the south side of the other pillar, Bila Mons. Now, so but we do have the Strait of the Rock of Gibraltar. So the Rock of Gibraltar okay. So these are the Pillars of Heracles. That means Tarshish is beyond the Pillars of Heracles. That would be any land beyond the Pillars of Heracles. And so, when we go to Isaiah 66, we read, This is Jehovah's final judgment against the wicked. At this time he's going to come with, says, not the Lord, but Jehovah will come with fire and with his chariot like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by the fire and by his sword will Jehovah judge all flesh, and the slain of Jehovah will be many. Let's go down here to verse 18. I know their works and their thoughts, and it shall come to pass when I will gather all the Gentiles and tongues. You're going to expel them out of their own lands. How? By the great nuclear war that they're going to do against each other. We read about it in Zechariah 14 in the last half. And I will set a sign among them and will send escapees, fugitives, unto the Gentiles. And who's going to be their first victim? To Tarshish. And what, pray tell, are these fugitives' duty and responsibility is? To declare my glory unto the Gentiles, and they shall bring your brethren for an offering unto Jehovah out of all the Gentiles upon Sus, birds, aircrafts, and you will see upon every kind of vehicle available to bring these people back home. And the children of Israel will be an offering in a clean vessel unto Jehovah, and the children of Israel will become priests and Levites, says Jehovah. Well, the first victim of the plagues, plague of no rain, well, the plague of no rain is going to be on the earth equally. I do believe, with the exception of course, the land of Israel. But the plague of blood, you know, like the one that Moshe brought in the land of Egypt, water will be turned to blood. And in order for that plague to be stopped, because it says as often as they will in Revelation 11, that's right, read it, it's the two witnesses. They're going to have to load these Jews, all of the house of Israel, and everyone who pledges their allegiance to Yehoshua, the crown prince of Israel, and Jehovah, the king of Israel. Yes, them too. All are going to be brought back to Israel like an offering to Jehovah to stop the plague. But the plague of no rain continues. The two witnesses for every single day that the Romans trampled on the holy city and the temple in 70 AD. The two witnesses are going to prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. And if any man will hurt them Fire proceeds out of the mouth and devours their enemies, and if any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. These have the power to shut the sky that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. How long is the days of their prophecy? 1,260 days, 48 months, 3.5 years. And they have the power over the water to turn them into blood and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they wish. And the Gentiles, the Christians, are going to end up killing these two prophets. And in so doing, they will be guilty of the murder of all the prophets all the way back to Abel. So, what I'm saying is, what the United States of America has done is a betrayal so badly that it requires a plague. It requires, and I'll tell you another reason why. It requires, the United States of America requires a retaliation plague, because there are more Jews in the United States, albeit not a whole lot more, but I think there is a lot more, to be honest with you. There are more Jews in the United States, that has been calculated, I should say, than there is in Israel itself. And I have told you time after time that this whole notion of the United States being an ally of Israel is a lie. It is a damn lie. In fact, I could go to BitChute, or should I just go to YouTube Studio and see, let's see here, content. I don't know if I can find that or not. Oh, right here. Please, folks, watch this video. The USA set to abandon Israel. I told you so. This, I did a very in-depth look into here. The Strait of Gibraltar, how the pillars of Hercules are as the rock of Gibraltar, and the other rock down south further. USA deviously attempted to overthrow Israeli government, threatened to abandon Israel at the UN, and we have a vote today. Seeing as, that's right, there's a vote today at the UN. And the UN headquarters is, guess where? The United States of America. About whether to give Gaza statehood. Gaza and the the occupiers of Judea and Samaria. Okay, so the northern pillar, Calpe Mons, is the Rock of Gibraltar, a corresponding North African peak. Not being predominant, the identity of the southern pillar, Bila Mons, has been disputed throughout history. The two most likely candidates being Monte Hajo in Ceuta and Jebel Musa in Morocco. The term applied in antiquity. Pliny the Elder included the Pillars of Heracles in his Naturalis Historia, the book. So Tarshish is beyond, west of the Strait of Gibraltar. And like I said, if you want to go in depth into Tarshish, because I tell you, Tarshish is going to be the first place beyond the Pillars of Heracles, is going to be the first place where the two witnesses go to gather the elect, Israel. Israel, mine elect, for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. All right, we see right there. Now, gather the elect, he will send his messengers, the two messengers, to gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. And now, see, this is all tied in. This is all comes from Isaiah 66, folks. Whether you like it or not, does not matter. The truth is the truth. The gathering of Israel is mentioned in Isaiah 66. I showed it to you. I showed you in Isaiah 66 how it's going to be done. It's going to be done by plagues. And you look in Revelation 11 and you will see who's going to be bringing these plagues. You can't get around it. And I dare say, folks, we are going to witness something in the United States of America in the next few months that you have never seen before. Because this act, this is so egregious, I think I'm going to have to go to my enemy's website. Now, this guy hates Israel just as much as the Arab enemies of Israel do. He hates them just as much. Look what he's got to say. Hal Turner. Okay? So his article, do not be deceived by this guy. I used to troll his website, and I was accused of being paid by the Mossad. I told him that that's a lie, because if I would work for the Mossad for free. And so his article goes like this: U.S. pauses weapons shipments to Israel, waives weapons purchase sanctions on Qatar, Lebanon, and Iraq. And let's look at what he's got to say. Much ado has been made, U.S. specifically pausing a weapons shipment to Israel. There's more to the story. Specifically, we, the U.S., paused one shipment of weapons consisting of 1,800 to 2,000 pound bombs and 1,700 and 500 pound bombs, Pentagon's press secretary Pat Ryder said during the press briefing. Earlier, President Joe Biden said in an interview that the U.S. will go as far to stop the flow of weapons to Israel should the Prime Minister of Israel War Cabinet decide on a major military operation in the Gaza Strip. Remember what I just pointed out to you. They already stabbed Israel in the back before this announcement. By allowing weapons to be sent to Israel's enemies. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin confirmed that the U.S. has paused one shipment of high payload munitions to Israel and is reviewing near-term shipments amid Israel's heightened offensive in Rafah. It remains unclear whether the suspension of weapons deliveries to Israel will make any difference and cause Israel to call off its Rafah operation. Netanyahu has repeatedly stated that his country stands ready to proceed with its military plans no matter what Washington or any other country says or does. On Monday, Israel started a military operation in eastern Rafah and took parts of the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing. And why would they do that? Because Egypt was enabling the weapons transfer of Israel's enemies into Rafah through the Egypt side of the border into Rafah. That's what was going on. So Israel had no choice but to take the crossing between Egypt and Rafah. Hamas said it had agreed to the provisions of the ceasefire deal. No, they did not. That was proposed by Egypt and Qatar mediators, but Netanyahu called the truce deal unacceptable. Over 1 million people are believed to be sheltered in the city. Earlier this week, Biden regime also, ready for this, granted waivers from economic sanctions to Qatar, Iraq, and Lebanon so that they can resume buying weapons. The waiver states it is intended to apply until April of next year, 2025, which incidentally is the same year. Listen to me carefully. I did a video on this about Deagle.com and the prediction of a mass population reduction in 2025 or by 2025. This is a planned event, folks. But you see, as they always say, the best laid plans often go awry. And this one will too. They are not looking for the two witnesses after the bombs start, after the nukes start dropping. They're not looking for them, but they're going to find them. So, not only has the Biden regime cut off arms shipments to Israel, it has granted permission for arms sales to Qatar, Hamas ally, Lebanon, Hezbollah ally, and to Iraq. It is almost as if they actually want a bloodbath taking place in the Middle East. Even the arch enemy of Israel in the United States of America is shocked by what Joe Biden's administration has done. Incredible, huh? Have I covered it all here? Yep. So, what I'm telling you now, this, and watch the UN today, and watch the vote on Palestinian, as they say, that cursed word, statehood. Watch out. Either way, events are going to start moving very, very quickly now. Because, you see, folks, I wonder if I have to go to my videos again and look for that Deagle one. I don't know how far I have to go back for that one. Okay, let's see if I can find it. I don't think I'll be able to find it. So many of my I got so many videos, folks. I tell you what I'm going to do. Here's what I'll do. What? Could it be this one? I'm not sure if it's this one or not. I will look for it. And if I find it, I will put the link on this particular video, okay? But I'm thinking This is the one. So when pre-planned depopulation agenda begins, all Israel shall be gathered from the four winds. So down here, in 15 minutes and 20 seconds, I post the Deagle depopulation forecast. And you can see it in there. You can see that particular article. And you can see right here at 10 minutes and 14 seconds that the depopulation agenda set for 2024 through 2025 with a question mark. And I go into great detail in this video that during this time all Israel shall be gathered from the four quarters of the earth, north, south, east, and west. Folks, I told you to get ready. I told you to, because you don't know how long it's going to take. From the time that the nukes start dropping, because I'm telling you, listen to me carefully, once the United States of America turns its back on Israel, which they are doing right now, which apparently they're doing right now, that is signaling to Russia the green light to force Israel into the 1967 borders, aka start the Gog and Magog war, the second part of the Yoel 3 war. I've been telling you about this. I've been warning you about this. I told you to get your food supply ready. I taught you how to filter your water. But in the end, you see, folks, they're coming for beyond the pillars of Heracles first to bring all Israel home. And if you don't believe that, let us go to Isaiah. If Isaiah 66 wasn't enough for you, that they're going to go beyond the pillars of Heracles first, then Isaiah 60 should be sufficient. The word oof means to fly in Hebrew. Flying in the cloud, like doves to the windows. The coastlands wait because the ships of Tarshish first to bring your sons from far, far, far away. And it's not going to be like the Jews who were kicked out of Iraq, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria in 1948, who were kicked out of those countries with nothing but the clothes on their back. This time, folks, their gold and their silver, all their money are coming with them. That's right. Unto Shem Yehovah Elohim, the Holy One of Israel. So prepare yourself for the nuclear exchange and prepare yourself for the coming plagues. It's going to happen. And I think they have now, we'll see what happens today, but the first, them giving the go-ahead and arm up Israel's enemies, that is the first sign of the ultimate betrayal of the Jews by the United States of America. I told you, I told you over and over again that the United States of America is Israel's mortal enemy. And to you Jews out here who live in the United States right now, this country is your mortal enemy. Be prepared to leave.